Davita with Davita Stampin' Spot, and we're pretending this is Technique Tuesday because I didn't get my recording done yesterday. Today I'd like to share with you a technique called chalkboard. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your black cardstock, and I'm going to take my embossing buddy. If you don't have an embossing buddy or something like this, a dryer sheet works well to take the static off your paper. And the reason you want to do that is when we put our ink on there, we don't want to, and the embossing powder, we don't want extra embossing powder except on our image. So I'm using a Versamark here. We're going to center my flower, and it's from the Painted Poppies set. And we're going to put it in our embossing powder. Make sure we get it all over. One thing I've learned from some fellow demonstrators is a good way to get rid of some of that extra powder is to take our Take-A-Pick tool with the sticky end here and just get rid of any extra embossing powder. I can tell I had it on my table because it's going all over the place. Alright, so now we're going to heat it up. Forgive me while I do this. I know it makes a lot of noise. Funny story, the first time I learned about embossing, no one explained how to do it. So I kind of followed the person that I was watching that was in front of me, and no one told me to make sure that you heat it up until everything's nice and shiny. So I didn't heat it up well. So when I took it back to my table to work, I had sand all over it, and I could not figure out what was so cool about this embossing. Needless to say, I've learned a lot. Alright, so we've got our embossing now with our white embossing powder. Now we're going to take our blends, our Stampin' Blends. If you're not familiar with them, we have a wide tip and a thin tip, and they're used for coloring. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to color now the embossed flower. I'm using Poppy Parade for the top, the red part of the flower. Our blends come in light and dark in each color. So Poppy Parade has a light and a dark. I'm using the dark one on this. And then I'm going to use Granny Apple Green for the leaves and the stem. I like this technique because it just makes the whole thing pop. You'll notice that it just stands out, and I just think that is so cool. There you go. So that's the technique, but of course in Stampin' Up, a technique's never enough. We need to finish a card. So there's my chalkboard. Now I wanted designer series paper. This is the card that I created earlier, and I used a stamp set that's going away called the Love What You Do. So this time I used Poppy Parade that will be current, and I used this designer series paper. Well, I ran out, so I decided I needed to create my own. So I'm going to show you how I did that. I took my strip here, and we're going to start with some black ink. And again, I'm using the Painted Poppies stamp set. Random is always the way you want to go. The center of my stamp pad's not. You always want some of your images to go off the edge of your paper, so it always looks like you've just cut off of a sheet of designer series paper instead of that you're just stamping it here. Next, we're going to take the Poppy Parade and we're going to add some filler. I wanted a lot of variation, so you'll notice I'm going to stamp the first one right on. Then I'm going to come over here, stamp a little lighter, and then even lighter over there, and then come back. So it just gives you a nice variety. Next I'm going to stamp my leaf. This is using Granny Apple Green. Again, I want to turn them different directions so it looks like designer series paper. Then I'm going to come back with these little dots. Here's what the stamp set looks like, and now I'm going to use this little one here. I'm going to fill in the leaves of the branch. Again, doing it several times so you get light and dark. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the red with the bigger image. And there you go. Now I have my own designer series paper. I see a little spot there. I want to add to. There we go. Now, this basic card that I designed, this first one, you'll notice that it's just our regular 5.5 by 8.5 cut in half. But this time I wanted to add a fun fold. So instead of scoring it at 4 1/4 like we normally do, I scored this one at 2 1/8 and then flipped it around and did the same thing on the other side. This gives you an opening in the center. Glue sticks or glue. It either comes out too much or too little sometimes. All right, there we go. I always like to have mine on the left side. Why? I don't know. That's just my preference. Then we're going to attach my designer series paper. You'll notice I'm using from the COVID-19 Stampin' Up give back. Some of that print was on the back side there, and I'm going to talk about that here in just a minute. Then I'm going to take my saying, and right now I'm just going to lay it here because I want to stamp my greeting down below. And on this one I wanted to send, say, just sending prayers, which is so appropriate for so many different situations. So as always, I'm going to take a practice here. It's a good thing it's upside down. There's our sending prayers. And then I'm going to attach the flower on the top part. So our give back that Stampin' Up! Has going right now, it's a PDF that you can purchase for $12, and all proceeds are going to help 2 organizations that are helping everyone with the COVID pandemic. And you can go to covid19.stampinup.com. It's $12. It's a printable download that then you can print as many times as you want. And you'll notice on this card, on the inside it says, sending love, and if I could, toilet paper. That's one of the fun sayings. One of my favorites is, I can't wait until we socially undistance, which I'm looking forward to that, as I'm sure you are as well. You'll notice I put adhesive on the left side here, and then I put it here so I don't have to worry about guessing where this is going to line up. And I forgot my ribbon. Well, we'll just tie a little bow on there this time. So you'll see I've done 3 variations. This one I did just the band here. This one I did wrapped it around with a bow, and because I forgot, this one's just going to have the bow on top. That's the fun thing that I have found with creating cards, is that you can start with an idea, and you'll ask anybody that crafts very often, and we all find that we start with something and then end up with something different. And that's okay. It's the creative part of it that's so fun. So then I would take a little glue dot and just put that right on like that. All right, So my hostess code for today is right here on the screen. You can see it. And I'm running a special right now. For every $50 order, and of course that's before shipping and tax, you'll receive the new 2020 and 2021 catalogs that I got in just this last week. I've made some really cute little tags that you can use on your catalog. Sorry about that. So here's the front of the catalog. You can see, oh my gosh, you're gonna love what's in here. It's just been amazing and fun to look through. Then I've created these fun little tabs that you can put on the side of it so that you can find just the different collections and products in our catalog. Plus, I have a bunch of celebration items that I received and had hoped to use for some classes and bingo, but then with my foot surgery wasn't able to do. So I'm ready to get rid of those. So if you place a $50 order with me and you use this hostess code, then I will send you a list of the gifts that I still have left and you can pick one of your choice. Now this is only till May 31st. So you've got, let's see, 11 days, I think. If you place an order of 150, don't use my hostess code. Make sure you use your own if you do an online order so that you get the hostess benefits. Or you can always send your order to me and I'll help you out. So I hope you liked the chalkboard technique. It's really fun. I think you'll enjoy using it. And thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next Tuesday.